So I'm here at the SEAM conference with David Fletcher and Matthew Schofield from the University of Otago in snow-capped Queenstown. So I guess first of all, David, what's a SEAM conference?
Well, it stands for Statistics in Ecology and Environmental Monitoring, and we started them, Brian Manley and I started them in 1993 with a view to getting ecologists and statisticians to get together, basically, and benefit from talking to each other. We actually had a provisional title which was slightly different in the beginning. It was Statistics in Population Ecology and Resource Management, and we decided not to go with that because of the acronym, if you work it out. But it would have been nice. And so we started those in 1993. We had Richard Cormack, Tony Underwood, famous ecologist from Sydney, marine ecologist, Roger Green, who was working in environmental monitoring, quite well known in that area, and Mark Boyce. And it was a very successful conference. We had people gate crashing and coming along, from all over the place. And so we continued the series at regular intervals after that. So that's how it all started.
Yeah, great. So Matthew, you organised this one. I had a great time, so thank you. I thought it was a really nice conference. So I guess, again, we had a mix of ecologists and statisticians, people from government departments and people from sort of academic institutions. So it was a real nice sort of range of people. What did you think the main sort of themes were that came through in the conference?
Well, the talks were quite broad, David, but a couple of the main themes that I identified were, we had three invited speakers talking on multivariate methodology in ecology, and in particular, that's right, and in particular they were focused on model-based approaches and looking at how we can get models more involved in multivariate methods and start to look at describing the data better, looking at goodness of fit. Another theme of the conference was we had, as you say, a number of people coming from government departments talking about environmental monitoring and how they've brought about a monitoring program really across the whole of New Zealand that goes from very wide scale, broad measures to quite narrow focused areas of management, and so that was another theme, and along with that we had contributed talks from all across ecology and statistics.
Yeah, and there was a fair bit of capture recapture as well, I guess.
Yeah, there was.
There was. Yeah. So David, how does that compare to what you saw in the earlier SEAM conferences?
It's actually remarkably similar.
Right.
The topics, obviously different topics become, the content evolves a bit, like this year, a lot of multivariate analysis, modelling data in that setting, and really interesting stuff in that area that, we weren't talking about 20 years ago. But the actual feel of the conference was very, very similar to the previous ones in that you could sense the benefit of statisticians and ecologists being together and learning about what the other does, and just interacting in the way that it's always been beneficial in these conferences, as I'm sure you found with Ecostats and that you find at ISEC as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I guess in terms of projecting to the future, if the themes aren't changing that much, maybe things aren't changing that much.
It's still all good, I think. I think it's really good to get together.
But I guess what you're saying was the problems people are dealing with are similar, but they're dealing with them in different ways.
I was thinking more of the type of conference it is.
Okay.
Sure, there are different techniques, different problems arise. Big data is obviously a big theme, even though that wasn't discussed much here.
Yeah. It's a lot of Bayesian hierarchical stuff that you wouldn't have seen as much of before, I guess.
Yeah. Bayesian networks that Kerry was talking about.
Yeah.
So clearly stuff that's different from previous conferences, but in terms of what the benefit of these types of meetings, I think it's that was the thing that struck me most, is the similarity with previous meetings.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a great meeting for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess that's it then.
Good.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
Yep. Cheers.